With the absolute state of the world right now, businesses are being severely slowed down or even shut down, and the gaming industry has not been immune to this. Many developers are going through some serious issues right now, and I can't help but think to myself if release dates are necessary in the industry right now or even the right move for devs. Today we're going to take a look at today's gaming scene and talk about why the abandonment of release dates, at least for now, could very well be better for devs as well as consumers. Let's get right into it. Now, a lot of people have really been looking forward to a solid release date on games like Lost Ark, Diablo 4, even Boundary, and from my point of view, this is a recipe for disaster. Let me explain, because the only thing that ever happens is that our hopes get let down. And I'm not trying to be negative here, I'm just trying to be realistic and try to set a standard moving forward. Because as of right now, it's like a 50-50 shot if a game actually gets released on its first announced release date, right? In today's world, there is a lot of restrictions on businesses, and they're ever changing. And you know, I'm not a game developer, but I can only imagine how many times the rug has been pulled out from under their feet. Now, that's not to say that some developers aren't just fucking up, and yes, I'm looking at you, Battlefield, and we'll talk about you in just a second. So we've determined that it's roughly a 50-50 shot whether or not it ships on time. So what do you think the percentage is of games that ship on their release dates that actually turn out to be a success and not just absolutely botched at launch? I mean, and some of these games did get delayed and they still had a botched launch. I mean, Cyberpunk is still a disaster. But here's the thing, guys, games are getting bigger. Games are getting more complex. Games are getting more intricate. And with the world around us making it harder and harder for people to do their jobs and get this stuff shipped out to us in time, I just think that it's not necessarily an outdated business practice to give us a solid release date. Just not necessarily a good idea right now. Okay, so this brings us to Battlefield. Now I'm gonna show you guys something, and if you haven't already seen this yet, I'm gonna warn you, this is not for the faint of heart. This is a comprehensive list of everything missing from Battlefield 2042. Everything missing, you guys. And yes, this will be a topic for its very own video over on the Capture the Frag channel. I will put a link up top, as well as down in the description if you want to go check that out if you're into shooter games. Now, IGN has taken the liberty of compiling an extensive list of every game delayed in 2021. The running tally right now is 57. That's almost 5 games per month that are getting delayed. I mean, are 5 games even releasing every month nowadays? So I'll link this in the description, but we're gonna take a look at some of the big ones. Outriders, Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk, Riders Republic, Lord of the Rings Gollum, Returnal, New World, Gran Turismo 7, Need for Speed, Gotham Knights, Back 4 Blood, Lego Star Wars, Deathloop, God of War 2, Kenna Bridge of Spirits, Horizon Forbidden West, Dying Light 2, Battlefield 2042, Elden Ring, Diablo 4, The Division Heartland, Overwatch 2. You guys get the idea. Now, on the flip side, we have less than a handful of game devs that have pleasantly surprised us by going against the grain and went with a couple different approaches. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about Halo. Ooh, okay, so this video was recorded before we all figured out how much shit Halo is actually covered in. You know the drama. I don't need to say that here, but just bear with me on what I'm about to say about release strategies, because I'm about to make a point and it kind of guides the narrative towards the solution that I'm going to propose. I also want to acknowledge that while I've been singling out game devs in this video, a lot of times it's actually the publishers that end up interfering with the development and making bad PR moves. Okay, back to it. Now, yes, Halo technically does have a release date, but they dropped the multiplayer on us completely randomly. I mean, there were some signs online that they were going to drop it for us, but they didn't confirm anything. And it just goes to show that surprise can be good. And here's another key thing: honest and frequent feedback and communication with your player base. Honestly, in today's day and age, you can make any kind of game and somebody's going to be interested in it. Probably a lot of people are going to be interested in it because people have different interests. The number one thing in today's gaming industry that is going to make or break a game is honest and quick communication with your player base. And that's just how it is, you know? When the multiplayer was basically ready to ship, they just went ahead and shipped it. Now, granted, it's still technically a beta, but they could have just held on to it until launch. But they said, no, you know what? This is gonna be a good move, not only for us, but for the players too. Which is exactly what I love about the gaming industry, is because it's so interactive. Not just interactive in the form of media, as far as you playing the game, but you don't get such communication between the developers of a product and the end consumer like you do in the gaming industry. And sadly, and I hate to say it and I hate to see it, but most of these companies out here are just not up to par. And part of that is giving us a release date and then either rushing to complete it and getting it out in shitty condition, or just delaying it and upsetting people. You know, gamers are a passionate people. We're not just like movie watchers. Oh, we like to watch movies sometimes. No, gamers fucking game. You know what I'm saying? So when shit like this happens, it fucking pisses us off. Not only because we feel like we've been lied to and manipulated and in a lot of cases deceived, but also because this is what we love to do. Now, I think the best example that I could give you guys of a developer that has done this absolutely perfectly, and I'm talking, of course, about FYQD Studio. Oh, you never heard of it? You never heard of a game called Bright Memory Infinite? I'll put some footage on the screen. This was developed by just one guy. Okay, he brought some people on at the very end, just a couple people, but it goes to show, I mean, just look at this game. Now, granted, there are problems with it, okay? There are, I won't lie. But the fact that it was developed by essentially a one-man studio, and he was able to maintain such honest communication about the development cycle with the fan base, it's like all these other companies, they don't even have an excuse. So what he did was, he essentially gave a general release date, okay? I believe at first it was just 2021, and regularly, week after week, if not every other week, at the very, very least every month, he would put out a Twitter post, not with just some fluff hype bullshit. He would put out a Twitter post on exactly where they were in the development cycle, exactly where he was in the development cycle. And as it got closer and closer to being ready, not only did he continue to give updates on where exactly the game was, but he also narrowed down the release date. So first it was 2021, and then as it got closer to being ready, it was late 2021, Q4 2021, November 2021, and finally a solid release date of November 1st, 2021. And by the time he had announced the release date, it was only like 3 weeks away. And the entire time we were waiting, we were hyped up, we felt good because he was being honest. It made us feel like, hey, you know what? Take your fucking time, dude. Keep us up to date, but do your thing. And at the end of the day, when he finally gave us the release date, it just like Halo. It was like a pleasant surprise. It was like, oh shit, it's only 3 weeks away. What the fuck? Now, I don't know if the world is ever gonna go back to the way it was, but regardless of whether it does or not, I think we need to see some adaptability in these game developers nowadays. You know, something as simple as not promising us that something is going to ship in good condition on this specific date when it's way far out into the distance and they probably don't even know if they're going to be able to ship it by that date. Like, I just don't understand it. Really curious to know what you guys think. Guys, if this is your first time here, I am Blue Monkey. Appreciate you stopping by. On this channel, we do talk about RPG game news. Right now, we're covering a lot of Lost Ark content, but we're talking about anything involving loot, bosses, and PvP. So if that's your type of games, consider dropping a sub down below, and I'll see you in next week's video. Peace.